Hey, hustlers. Welcome to Entrepreneur
Badass.
the podcast, your source for taking charge of your life and business like a boss.
I'm Cori, your go-to real estate and business attorney, also running a couple of side hustles in real estate and travel.
And I'm Chelsea, tax boss, content creator, and restaurateur. We've both built million-dollar businesses, and we're here to share what we've learned along the way.
That's right. We're all about helping you grow, not just your business, but yourself too, and doing it your way, because being an entrepreneur is all about being a true badass.
So buckle up, grab your hustler spirit of the week, and let's dive into building your business like the unstoppable force that you are. Let's get into it. Guess who's back? Welcome back to Entrepreneur
Badass.
I'm Chelsea.
I'm Cori. And every week we're bringing in the hottest, the best, the most insightful tips for entrepreneurship.
This is true.
So, Chelsea, what is our hustler spirit of the week this week?
So this week we have Uncle Nearest, which is a premium whiskey. It is a brand inspired by and named after Nathan Nearest Green, an African-American distiller who played a significant role in the early whiskey production in the U.S. Green, known as Uncle Nearest, was a master distiller who taught Jack Daniel, the famed founder of Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey, the craft of distilling. The brand was launched in 2017 by entrepreneur and historian Fawn Weber. Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey aims to celebrate and recognize the often overlooked contributions of Nathan Nearest Green to the whiskey industry while delivering a top-notch whiskey experience to consumers. So cheers, Cori.
Cheers. I love this whiskey and I love the story even more.
Yes.
Cheers.
Thank you, Miss Fawn.
It's so smooth.
Oh, I love it.
Even if you don't love whiskey, I love this. I'm a whiskey lover, but I absolutely love Uncle Nearest.
Yes.
So get into it.
Yes.
And while we talk about getting into things today, we are going to talk about Diddy. Now, everybody's talking about Diddy. Everybody's talking about his indictments. He's in jail, if he's going to be released. And so we could get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty about a lot of things, but mainly we're thinking about his businesses. We're entrepreneurs. Many of you guys are entrepreneurs too. And even if you're not an entrepreneur, you have a brand. You are your brand. And Diddy did it best. He was his brand. He was what? Mr. Love?
Yes.
Puppy Love or whatever.
I love Diddy. My mom used to be infatuated with Diddy. She loved her some Diddy. I'm glad she didn't get to know Diddy though, because I don't know what that would have looked like. But Diddy is definitely a mogul in my eyes.
He's a mogul, and he's, throughout the course of my life and my journey as an entrepreneur, he's been so inspirational to me.
Right.
You know, he would talk about, the way that he wanted his business to run, the demand for excellence that he had on everybody around him. All of that was inspirational to me. So
for sure.
This fallout has been very sad to me.
It has. It's almost like, they're demolishing his legacy, which I hate to see any black man, have to go through that. But at the same time, you do have to be accountable for your actions and the things that you are doing to yourself and other people.
Yeah, no, it's this real delicate balance, especially when you are the brand you hate to see. And we've seen it with so many other people, Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby. Does that mean you don't support the brand? Are we not going to listen to bad boy music anymore because of everything that's happened with Diddy? And let's be honest, we've heard for years from a business perspective that he was a big cutthroat, that he wasn't paying people for their royalties or paying people for their masters or,
or groping the women that he had, contracts with and things of that sort.
Or chokeholding those people so they couldn't get new contracts.
Yeah. We had Miss Dawn Richard. She kind of made a statement at one point saying that, Diddy was making sexual advances towards her and touching on her in inappropriate ways. And when she would retaliate or she would pull back away from him, he would do things like cut her mic off and things of that sort. To be honest with you, the way that I received that, I kind of feel like that is the story in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these women that are celebrities and stars go through that in this industry. It's like, if you're attracted, and that's why they give us such a hard time as successful women because they like to say that we effed our way to the top, right?
That we're problem makers if we don't want to agree to things like that.
Right. So that was really concerning to hear. You know, do I feel like he's doing things that other people do not do?
I mean, I think, one, it's important to look at the different things that he's accused of because they're different, right? And some things
there's definitely layers,
adult, right? Like your people are voluntarily. I mean, people probably will be honored to be invited to a Diddy party, and I've heard different recounts of people saying, well, hey, it's free. You could go down into that section or you could stay up in a different section. And, you know, it was not like a mandatory thing. But I know a lot of times people get pressured. And I would say this about the Me Too movement. This may not be everybody's opinion, but yes, you want your son or men have a responsibility to respect what someone says. No does mean no.
Right.
But as women, and what I teach my daughters is you have to be responsible when you don't say no.
Right.
Right? When a lot of times we say, well, he should have known and I wasn't that into it. And people cannot be responsible to know the things that you internally believe or perceive or want to happen, right?
This is true.
So if he's not a mind reader, how would he know that you may have said yes, or he said you want to come this way and you didn't say yes, but you started walking. So you expect for him to know, like, no, I really didn't want to go. I'm not saying that specifically about any of Diddy's allegations because I do not know it that far.
Right.
But I will say for some of that Me Too movement, it was a lot of people saying, well, it wasn't consensual.
Yeah.
And what defines that, especially when people are inebriated, like if a man can't read you when he's sober, please do not expect for him to get
read
drunk.
you, Lord, when he is under the influence of anything. Right.
I think
Number
it's
one.
very hard. Now, if you have been victimized, you know, our hearts go out to us, and that is no excuse.
For sure.
But how I will say how I explain it as a mother is, just make sure you're careful, and if you don't want to do something, say that. Yeah.
Don't assume that somebody can read you and understand what you're not comfortable with, because they are comfortable with it, obviously, if they're asking you to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I am very conflicted about him getting in trouble and it being so much press about the freak offs. I feel like a lot of that was consensual. If you're there and you're a part of these parties, and because from what I can understand from people that I know that have spoke about being at actual Diddy parties, it's like the what's happening in the front, and what's going on in the mid back.
I heard that too.
It's two different things. If your behind go to the back, is it considered,
I think that
it's a slippery
the reality is people enjoy what they enjoy, right? And so one person may say, "Oh, that's gross. I would never want to do that." But the next person may say, I gotta
try this, and I didn't did that and some.
Today is the day I've been waiting to get back here, right? And I want to do all the things, and I'm gonna add a thing or two for my own repertoire, right? And so I think that it does become a slippery slope. That doesn't mean at any point escalations can't happen that are not consensual, right? And when those things are done best, if you call it a freak out party, I think it's done best when everybody knows like when I say don't do this, like I want to do XYZ and I don't want to do that, and that's in life too, you know, learning how to draw boundaries. Now, do I think they were interviewing people for
you like this, check this box. If you like this and that, okay, you go in room 1, you go in 4, you go in 8. I also feel like this is a common thing for men that are successful. I have heard a lot of stories from men here in Houston that, are business owners that are the top of their businesses. They get very much so involved in their businesses because it's easy. You have different sorts of opportunities that present themselves to you when you are a man of power. So I feel like Diddy is at a point where he is just basking in his authority.
Yeah, but they call it hubris or whatever. Like, if you read the background to almost any movie, the downfall is you thinking, I won't get caught.
I'm
no
above
one will
all.
tell on me. That is the real challenge. And Diddy as a brand, he had an amazing brand. And when he came out with Ciroc, if Diddy supported it, you would feel like, maybe more like a friend gave you the thumbs up on it.
Yeah.
Like, if it was the party, if it was the Ciroc, if it was the different things, even when we were wearing Sean John, you felt like, oh, Diddy's offering it, so that must be the cool thing.
It's a cool thing to do. He was an influencer before influencers were influencers.
I think that's his whole skit was he wasn't like the star of the show when it came to Biggie or Bad Boys, but he was able to get a group so powerful around him. And you were like, well, dang, if the most talented singer and the most talented rapper and this crew is behind you, then their attraction to you is based off of something.
Yeah, what he doing?
And so that is what your brand is about, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure people are attracted to you or see a light in you. Mm-hmm. So I think he built a phenomenal brand. Mm-hmm. Now, I think the businessman, Sean, or the businessman Diddy, one thing. The man, Diddy, is a whole nother thing. And for me, I could separate the two and be like, I still appreciate those lessons. I'm not going to throw them in the trash. He gave some powerful business lessons.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if he gave powerful life lessons because he has got a lot going on in his life.
But let me ask you this, because I've had this conversation before. Think about Jeff Bezos. Think about Elon Musk. Think about all the millionaires and trillionaires and bajillionaires and the whatever else that you can think of. And how many things that just does not inspire them. Like, if you had all the money in the bank to do whatever it is that you wanted to do, what then in life inspires you? Like right now, we're all working towards some sort of monetary, accomplishment. Like, you might want to buy a jet. You might want to buy a Maybach. You may want to have a big, large house. You may want to buy 10 condos in 10 different cities. But think about if you had trillions of dollars in the bank.
Yeah.
What in life now excites you?
So I think that's where either you go looking real high or real low. Either you go into like, oh, I want to go to the next level and go,
What's the next level when you are a trillionaire?
But so either it is like going inside yourself, which to me is the next level, or you start looking for things, exotic things you never experienced here.
And I believe that is what I believe Diddy was doing. Because he was trying to explore a different level of life, which is why he started incorporating the drugs and the freak offs and the different stuff. Because now it's like, what excites me in this life when I have everything?
Someone told me many years ago about Diddy parties. Mm-hmm. 20 years ago, somebody was like, just unsolicited, like, he does things. And at the time, how he presented it, he was a former bodyguard, and he was like, it's raw, it's crazy, like, it's abusive. And so I certainly believe some of the things he did was abusive. And I don't think it's always been off of this high of, I have everything. I think that was at a point where he was still trying to get things. Like, a lot of times you're in a room and you may be at the top of your mountain, but then you go meet some sultans who have a $200 million yacht, and you realize you, from the grand scheme of things, for the richest of the rich, you're not that rich. And I don't think Diddy was ever that rich, because if he was that rich, when Cassie said, pay me $30 million, he would have wrote the check.
First mistake.
Wrote the check.
First mistake.
Do you want a cashier's check? Do you want it wired to your business?
Nah, what?
I mean, you want an offshore account? Can I include it as a house? And
I'm going to add a tip.
A tip, yes. So I think that, he was building a brand, and from the brand came the business. From the business came other business interactions, and he forgot all of that, because then him as a man, somebody said, you did something to me. He knows good and well what he did that. And he knows that the video existed at the hotel. He knows all the things he did just in the scope of that personal relationship.
Yeah.
And that she could prove up everything.
Right.
And his advisor said, well, just go for it. Like, we're not going to pay her. What can she do? And so
she could do a lot.
And that's a very especially when you surround yourself with yes men and somebody like not one person was like, nah,
you are tripping right now. Give that girl the money and sit down somewhere, and you got a problem too.
I would have been like, here I wrote. I'd have held his hand while he was sleeping and been like, sign this check and let's
get this out of this lady, because now look. Now it's turned from a civil situation to a criminal situation.
And it's still all these additional criminal cases, civil cases, not to mention the criminal cases. And then all these brand partnerships that are just jumping ship. Because he's not what he presented himself, where he was an influencer and he could get people to buy things. He can't get, it would be you. It's like toxic. You don't want to have Diddy's name on your brand anymore. Right. And so I think that
well, baby, all might.
Even them. I think they're scared.
Did you see how fast Costco was like, listen, do not take us out of this. We don't even sell baby oil.
Baby oil, to me, is a little old school.
It is.
I mean, babies, yes, baby use baby oil, but like grown-ups, I don't know. I will say this, sometimes, and even when I talked about getting in my own way, I think he was in his own way. Yeah. And he should have had advisors not making a decision as Diddy as a man. Like, I'm not going to pay this lady this. What is our brand worth?
Yeah, he was definitely operating in his ego at that point.
Yeah, if it's worth $1 billion, why are we worried about this $30 million? Give it to her. Give it to her. Yeah. That's just a business expense. And a lot of times, I would say as entrepreneurs, we start leveling up. Lots of times I talk to people who start becoming a target, and I talk to them about asset protection, and they're like, well, I didn't do anything wrong, so if somebody sues me, it won't matter. That's not what lawsuits are, right? Yeah. And that's not all the reason people get sued because you really did something wrong. Sometimes it might be frivolous, but if that frivolous something costs you more than it's worth, then pay it off and go about your day and learn the lesson, whatever that is. Sign an NDA, sign better contracts, get a better team around you, whatever that lesson is, but take that on the chin and move on. And now he can't ever move on. He's forever.
We will never go to a Diddy party.
No, well, if you go to a Diddy party, it means I'm know full well what you.
I'm staying in the front. I'm not going to the back. Okay, keep me in the front with Ellen DeGeneres and the rest of the gang. I don't want to go to the back.
So, now, when we think about Diddy's businesses, what does this mean? Because we do know that they have been named in some of these lawsuits as well. Right. And so I think as an attorney, I'll say this. When you start suing people and you look at who to sue, you sue everybody you think can pay you. Yeah. So at a point and at his height, yes, you believe Diddy can pay you. But the same with Donald Trump. You start looking through the books and say, you know what? If all you have is income that is coming in the future and that income stops, maybe you won't be able to pay me. So I'm going to tag anyone I can link or link responsibility to who might have a deeper pocket. Mm-hmm. And so I think now we have to think about all of Diddy's businesses and say, now what happens to those businesses?
And I think that's a really, really, really great lesson for anybody that's an entrepreneur or a business. Mm-hmm. We may feel like our personal brand or our self is not attached to our businesses, but truly everything that you say and do can lead back to your business. Yeah. It can either make or break you at this point.
The brand and the business are so closely tied that people can say, oh, this started to happen, so I don't want to go forward with the business interaction, even if nothing wrong happened thus far. So, I mean, for you, what do you think about how you protect yourself? You have Chelsea the person, Chelsea the brand, and then you have yourself as a part and extension of a business. Do you do anything or think about anything to protect yourself?
Absolutely. Like, for one, I totally understand that my brands are now bigger than me, which are great. So if something were to be said or happen, I would assume that people would still like the product that I provide. However, I really stray away from speaking about a lot of things like politics and religion and, certain beliefs, because those type of things can either make or break you. So for me, I try to really remain at a very neutral space about certain things because people are paying attention to you.
That's true.
and what you have going on?
I think certainly if it's something that you believe in, don't be afraid to say it as an entrepreneur, because hopefully you're cultivating a community that likes you.
Yeah, that likes you
and
that
believes
supports
you.
what
And
you
if
believe
nothing
in.
else, can separate you in the business. But I do believe that just some things, take it offline. I think in this world, we think everything has to be an upfront comment. We had,
true.
a viral post, and so many people had something to say, and I really felt like they just wanted to say something to say something.
Right.
It was just like, you just have to
Gotta say something
now to be included, even if it's negative, or maybe even specifically if it's negative, because at least you feel seen and somebody's going to see it and maybe are brought into your world, right? And so I think you have to just remind yourself, am I saying something because it's important to me and my beliefs and what I want to do, or am I saying something to say something?
Yeah.
And if you're saying something to say something as a business owner, or as you try to build your brand, ring that on in, because the people important to you and the people you feel like you're persuasive to, you can convey that message instead of going all on Instagram and saying, vote for this person or this person sucks. You can have a private event. You can have a fundraiser. You can go to a fundraiser. There's ways to support, and it's not always, if people tune to you because they know that you're a business boss, they may not even care about your political opinion. That's not why they're there.
No, they're there because they want some fried fish.
Delicious fried fish.
Yeah.
Say that.
Hot, crispy. They don't care who you support or who you don't support or what your opinion is about X, Y, and Z.
So I just think if it's important to you, yes, of course, share, be authentic. I think that's an important part of building a brand. Like, I think for most of his life, Diddy was himself, and that's what we liked about him. But that doesn't mean you just have to go kind of put your nose into stuff, especially when it turns off to people. I will say there was this blogger that I knew a long time ago. She was a makeup blogger when I was in a blogger group, and it went from her having a political opinion that was different than mine, and I'm happy to conversate. I think we could talk about things. I don't need you to be on the same page.
Right.
But then she was like, I hate all of blank. And I was like, oh,
that's
girl.
where you took it too far now.
It's like, oh, you're super extra, and I'm going to have to disconnect myself because I'm not about to be stressed looking at your page. It's not worth all that to me.
Yeah.
Just to say we have discourse, or just so I could get in and I'm going to show you, you show me. It's okay for you to have a different of opinion. And so I think with Diddy, even as we discuss Diddy, we may express views that people don't express it. They say, oh no, he's abusive, we should disconnect from him. That's your opinion, and it's beautiful too. I love it. That doesn't mean it has to be ours. Ours is from our frame of reference, right? And I think some of it is everybody wants to say something to be heard, but nobody's putting sense to it.
No.
It's not sensible. Sometimes.
It's not sensible. So listen, are you going to still listen to Diddy music?
I am.
Me too, because I still listen to R. Kelly. I don't care. They say I'm not. They try to turn it off. Turn that back on. I like R. Kelly.
It was the music of my childhood. I probably can recite the whole 12 play album. Okay. So I can't
I'm gonna keep
erase those memories. And the same with Biggie. Biggie for the most part was like a side piece to other things that other people were doing. He did have his own albums, but I can't say I ever bought the whole Diddy album. So it is what it is. But I did respect him as a business person.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what? It's more than that. If you are just Diddy's friend, because we haven't seen a lot of people come out in defense of Diddy.
This is true.
But do you just flush the whole friend away because they did something bad?
So I'm still in between on the figuring out if it was something bad. Now, I do see first of all, the Cassie video was bad. Yeah. I will say that. You know what I mean? But the way that they're trying to tie in the Diddy parties and the freak offs and the things of that sort, I feel like if you were invited to a party and you chose to indulge, he's not doing anything wrong.
Yeah. It's like Hugh Hefner.
Exactly. So I'm really conflicted because I feel like he does have a domestic situation with Cassie. But outside of that, I understand that there's a lot of civil cases, but people are very vicious when it comes down to money, right?
Yeah.
So I need to see these play out to really determine whether or not it's a real thing or if it's something that you guys are just trying to chase behind a dollar. Because I saw a girl on Twitter the other day say, I want to file a civil case on Diddy so bad. Girl, you know your ass ain't never been around no Diddy.
You know what it is, though? I think it's a difference that there's something morally wrong. Like, everybody's morals are different, right?
Yeah.
There might be something morally you don't like about the way Diddy operated.
Mhm.
And then there's something civilly wrong. Like, did he violate, a breach of contract or whatever the civil charges are against him? And then there's something criminally wrong. And they're all different things. Even if, the specific charges that he's facing criminally may not be things that you believe, and that's okay.
Right.
It's not, it's what's not okay to me is to be people like, oh no, he's been charged, so that must mean he's guilty.
That does not mean he's guilty. That means that somebody has made some allegations, and until we prove whether or not this is true. Now, the video, it gives us evidence, hard evidence, right?
But the video, Cassie's video, is not what he's being indicted for, right? So that's the moral part. Like, I don't like Diddy because he's a woman beater, and morally I can't get with that, and that's okay. But if you're saying he's guilty of everything because he's guilty of one thing, that's just not true. That's not how it goes. System,
right.
Exactly. And we all have done something wrong. Can you imagine if we take a look at ourselves and say, if you say, well, you did this one thing, that means everything I think of you is true.
Right.
The worst of what I think of you is true because you did do this one thing.
Right.
And that may not be true.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people are so quick to make a decision, they don't even know the difference between the criminal charges, civil charges, and just stuff you don't like that he did.
And I feel like online they're slandering his character based off of the things that he's partaked in his personal life.
People are so uninformed anymore, and I don't think they even care to be. They just want to say something, and again, they just want to say something.
Yeah.
Oh, he did this and he did that.
Right.
And I think he did a lot of things wrong. I fully believe he did a lot of things wrong, but I don't think he did everything wrong, and that's very different than if he should go to jail for the rest of his life for the things he's been charged of, which some of it is like flying people out. And lots of people
How many people fly? I done been flued out. What Carisha say? I done been flued out. Like, people fly you. I mean, I think that it's because of the scale that he's on, and at this point they're trying to really piece everything together.
Yeah.
But it's not a crime to fly someone out. It's not a crime to, have freak-offs. How many people do have orgies? Y'all watch it on the porn sites all the time.
Not just the porn sites. The movie, what was the movie? 30 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
Was the international best-selling book, international best-selling movie with 3 parts. And, it was intriguing when it feels like those people.
Right.
But when it's real life, people don't like it. And I think their moral compass begins to kick in where they say that's not right.
Yeah.
But is it wrong? Do we cancel him over it? And that's the individual question. But you have to respect somebody's individual opinion if it's different than yours too.
But the law is the law.
The law is the law, and the process, the due process in the United States is he's going to get a trial. He's going to be found guilty or not guilty. The same with OJ. People try to perpetuate like, oh no, he's a murderer. Well, the court did not agree with you, and he was in front of his peers, a jury of his peers, he was found now guilty. So even when it's against it, when it was, the guy who shot up the crowd, it wasn't what I liked. I don't think that was the proper verdict, but I'm going to respect the verdict because people who intimately heard the details, both sides got to present their arguments, and they came out with the answer.
Right.
And so who am I to...
It is what it is.
Yeah, try to override the answer.
Right. I don't have all the details. Like, the jury had the details. So I'm going to leave it, sit on it, and let that be. I feel like, it's a matter of, public opinion is really strong.
Yes.
And at this point, if there were no minors involved, which they're trying to insinuate that... what's his name? Justin Bieber and Usher were underage at the time that Diddy was spending time with them.
Yeah.
But none of them came forward and said that Diddy did anything inappropriate with them. Yes, they spent the day with him. They spent time with him. But did they...
Well, Diddy was Usher's legal guardian.
But has Usher ever came out and said... Diddy did X, Y, and Z to me?
Well, I think it's always very different because Usher did say that Diddy would give him girls when he was underage. And I think we think...
Is that illegal?
Underage people, grown-up people and underage
people.
Well,
grown-up people and underage. But did he say that these were older women?
Yes, he did.
Oh, well.
So I think that I think that Diddy got brought into a culture that's how they were operating, and he began to live that culture.
But you know, Boosie say that too, right?
Elevated that culture, huh?
Lil Boosie does that too with his son. Oh. He openly says it. For my son's birthday, I'm getting his thing sucked.
I definitely know people that are in that space and do those things.
Right.
So I'm not here to
judge.
Morally, you know, I don't have time to judge nobody, to be honest with you. I got my own problems. So I'll say it like that.
Right.
At the same time, I think from a brand perspective, he started doing himself a disservice. And as entrepreneurs, we always have to keep our eye on the goal, which is for Diddy, or you know what, who I say is the opposite. Snoop went from like the most hated, regulated person to somebody now everybody celebrates.
He at the Olympics.
He's
living
famous
his best
internationally.
Life.
He's probably one of the most famous rappers internationally.
Right.
Anywhere you go, people are going to know who Snoop is, right? And so I think he took control and power over his brand in a positive way when Diddy's brand started going
down.
And what do you think this means? If you were, let's say you had Diddy, you know, you had a collaboration with Diddy, what would that mean to you as a partner? Like, you're paying Diddy for his presence, for him, you know, posting every day about your brand. What would you do if you were in partnership with Diddy?
I would be distraught right now because people are just not feeling Diddy. So it's like, and you've probably given him the money, you have a contract with him, and you like, now I'm associated to this foo-foo of for what other people believe at this point to be, you know, him going down.
Yeah.
You know, or them demolishing his legacy pretty much. And you just don't want things like that associated with your brand. So I would be definitely trying to pivot and figure out ways to disassociate because
yuck.
Right. Because
lots of these contracts, though, do have like moral turpitude clauses where it says like, hey, I'm paying you to be this and be that and, you know, be the boss you are. So if you get into some other trouble, contract's terminated and now you owe me money back. And so I think kind of he forgot the underlying balance of, yes, I am this person, but I'm this brand. And if this brand's building this money and providing for this lifestyle, I'm going to stay true to the expectations of the brand too.
I want to know, why were there no NDAs signed at these parties? Like,
I definitely believe that there were NDA signs because somebody would have come out many years before this. I told you somebody told me 20 years ago that it was happening.
Yeah.
So I definitely believe people would have come out if there was just no legal disclaimers. And there was a certain amount of shared participation, I believe. Like, yeah, you did it, but I did it too. And maybe that was how you got in the room, right? Like,
right, yeah.
We're all doing
I know
it.
You,
so
you know me,
if you tell on me, then maybe I'll tell on you.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like, you know, this is all a big mess. And they say Kim Kardashian and some other, you know, celebrities are losing their minds, sending cease and desist and things of that sort. But can you send a cease and desist to the federal agency?
Oh, you definitely cannot. They can do what they want to. I think what's also important is that if you look at, there was like a rash of top music executives resigning after he got arrested. So it was like, his hand is way, way, way deep in the cookie pot.
Yeah.
People see it coming. And as far as those clauses I mentioned, and these are people who are thinking about their contractual obligations. A lot of times, if you resign, there's a different line of action. You may still get paid for years as a CEO. Mm-hmm. But if they fire you or you've breach the contract for moral turpitude, you may lose all the money. So I'm really curious. Of course, we can't read their employment agreements to see if there's anything tied to like, okay, if you get our name in mud, you don't get all this money. But if you just leave voluntarily, you have a path, you have money, you don't have any like dirt on your name right now.
Yeah, so that's a great point.
You know, you follow the money and it'll probably give you an answer.
Let me resign so I can keep getting this money. Yeah. For real.
I'm very curious. I think I saw at least 3. And these were internationals all over the world where people were like, oh, they called Diddy in or they pulled his tapes, resign.
Right.
Let me get out of here.
Because I know I'm on them. I just think that this is just a real big eye-opener for anyone that's an entrepreneur, that even though you may feel like you're not directly tied to your brand as a personal brand, you still have to manage and maintain the things that you're doing in your day-to-day life, because it could potentially be, the demise of your business.
And it not just bankrupt you, but everything. I think, and I'm sure his children already thought, I'm set up for life. Like,
Right.
our kids are set up for life. And now all of that is in question. And I think you always have to think about your legacy, because you do want something that lives beyond you.
That's true.
And I think before he had that, and now he may not.
Right.
And so you have to think about it and kind of put as a priority, yes, I want to live my life. Yes, I want to do these things with these people, and these things are exciting to me. Whatever, I like it. Like what you like.
Yeah.
But don't forget that at the end of the day, almost everybody has something that writes the check that they cash to live their life.
True.
And you have to make sure you're not kicking it in the trash.
I'm sure he thought he was going to make money off Ciroc forever.
Well, he already knew, and maybe that was a sign, because sometimes you see personal shakeups when people get into a business fight, because those same people probably were invited to the party, right? Mm-hmm. They were very wealthy people who started the Ciroc brand and added Diddy to it. So when people know things about you, sometimes things you don't want out in the public, you do have to be careful what fights you pick with them, because I have seen it in, like Michael Jackson's owned the Beatlemasters. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that was a direct correlation to all the accusations against him, but it was not nothing. Yeah. That's a very powerful portfolio that he owned of music. And so when people can kick you on your knees, and you're not paying attention, can enable them to take down the whole, like a domino effect, and just take down everything.
Yep. Yeah, you got to protect what you build, man.
You have to protect what you build. It's hard earned, and those opportunities never come again.
Yeah, that's true.
Now that if he
beats all of this, it will never be the same.
No.
People are not going to want to associate themselves with someone, even if you beat it and come out on the other side. I would love to see it. I would love to see him overcome these things and be able to rebuild and get to a certain space again. However, is that realistic?
I think that's the mental part of it, because he would have to start from scratch.
And that's the entrepreneurial part in it. Like, we always are optimistic about, being able to rebuild. And does he have the ability to do so, in your opinion?
I think his power was his connections. And those connections are not going to, because they have so much to lose themselves and have a different perspective. When you see somebody knocked down, you'd be like, whoop. Like, if you spilled your drink out, let me get mine. Let me hold
Now,
mine
do
tight.
you think the Diddy parties are a part of his brand?
I think he was known for creating an experience. Right. And, now he can't create experiences anymore. He's not the boss that he was used to. And if he could restart again, swallow his pride and restart in something completely different, he will have to be selling technology or real estate or something
totally different, with no Diddy parties.
He would have to be doing something so different. And so do I think that he could swallow that pride and start again? I would say probably my bet would be no, because if he could swallow his pride, he would have paid Cassie money.
Right. I don't understand that part still.
I don't understand that part at all. And I don't even think her intention was to bring him down as hard as he came down. It was like, you know what this is.
Yeah.
I should be comfortable forever now.
And there's nothing like a woman scorned. Like, she went through a lot of things with him. Like, just from a woman's perspective, because I have dealt with, an abusive relationship. Mm-hmm. When you get to a certain point, you want your payback. You're like, I went through X, Y, and Z, and I came out on the other side with absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. And I've suffered, I've been abused, and at that point in time, she may have, been going through her healing process and realized, this is unfair. He's just moving on with his life as if I'm not trying to scatter to pick up the pieces.
Well, but she wasn't a hot artist anymore. It's not like she put her career on hold for that relationship. It's not like she could just pop back in and be like, hi, I'm Cassie. You remember this song? Like, the people who are listening to music now will be like, what song?
Right.
I don't know. This sounds foreign to me, right? Yeah. And so I think the best shot of her, unless she's starting a completely different career, of her living the rest of her life in comfort, was the guarantees he probably made to her in a relationship.
Right.
And if you've been in a relationship with people, lots of times they make promises. I'll
That's
take care of you. You're good. You don't have to worry about anything. And it makes you turn down your own volume and your own drive. And then, boom, they're gone. Now, what am I going to do?
Cassie was like, just give me my money.
Yeah, just give me my...
I need that. And I get that.
And I think she said, I deserve that.
Yeah.
I've kept your secrets. I didn't call you out. Whatever people say about me in the public, now that we're not together, I'll just take it. She was very quiet. I never heard her say anything about Diddy. I saw her husband say some things about Diddy that were like, no homo. Like, take your stuff over there.
Right.
But I never saw her say anything. So I think she was very quiet. And, you know, she wanted a private settlement because now she doesn't want to be known as a girl who brought down Diddy either.
Right.
That doesn't behoove her.
Or to be known as the woman that went through these type of things or put up with these type of things with Diddy.
It's embarrassing.
It is. It's like, girl, why would you look at this video and why would you still stay?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that is the conflicting part about being in an abusive relationship, because sometimes you're optimistic that change will come, you know, and I don't think that she should be judged for feeling like, you know, I'm in this. And we don't know what her financial situation was. We don't know what made her stay as long as she stayed. However, to publicly see that video and what she actually went through, now it opens up the door to, well, what else did you go through? What other things did you...
Morally, I'm not rocking with him. I know he did way more than we'll ever know.
We'll ever see.
Like, that was, to me, just a day or a run-of-the-mill day, because that wasn't like her Tina Turner moment where she, like, ran away and just got in the cab and never came back. Right. She was with him for years after and never talked about that incident, even though she had receipts. Yeah. She's always had the receipts. She's always could have been like, pull the video, or let me file a criminal complaint about the abuse. And she never did that. And so I'm saying, I think she wanted to be private and she wanted her personal life private. And we all want that. You know, nobody wants the worst day of their life to be on TV.
That's right.
So my heart goes out to her. And anybody, like you said, who's been in a situation where you're trying to get somebody grace and benefit of the doubt, belief that they can be the best of them instead of the worst of them. And then you get that people abuse you for believing that somebody could be better because you've seen the gambit. Right. Exactly. You've seen them at their best.
It's like a lose-lose situation almost. You know, my heart really goes out to anyone that has dealt with any type of domestic abuse, because it is so trying and it's really hard to navigate in that space when you're genuinely wanting to see the good in someone, and then you're also being criticized for wanting to genuinely see the good in someone. So anybody that's dealing with any type of domestic abuse, my heart goes out to you. You guys can always reach out. There's lots of nonprofit organizations that can help you guys in your journey to figuring out what's next for you and how to move forward, because it is a real serious thing.
And so we're out of time, but we want this conversation to continue. So if you want to talk about your opinion about Diddy, his brands, his businesses, and how you can avoid all this drama, all this trouble as a business owner, make sure you comment in our links below. But get in on the conversation, Chelsea. Please, please, please tell these people how they can converse with us.
You guys can like, subscribe. Make sure you go and follow us on all of our platforms. We're on Apple, Pandora, YouTube, Deezer. We're on all these amazing places. So you guys go and follow us, subscribe, and catch us next week.
Bye, guys.